What an intro. So, Mickey Collins, take it away.
Hello, so I'm Mickey. I'm the digital content producer at the University of Chichester. So within my role, I look after all of the social media channels for the university. So that includes the content. I look after the video content as well, which is a bit broader to like the website and advertising and stuff too. So yeah, basically a lot of the digital content will kind of come through me, but my main focus is social.
Amazing. And if I did my research correctly, you studied at Chichester and then you went straight into a role with the university. Is that right?
It is. I love it so much, Ollie. So I was a student for 3 years. I worked at the Students' Union for a year and then now work at the university. So I've worked in the marketing department for about 5 years now. So kind of made my way up from there.
Amazing. So how have you managed to sell TikTok in to University of Chichester? Because it's a platform that is quite confusing. It's very different to your traditional Facebooks and Instagram. So how did you get it past your team and the kind of commitment to really invest in it?
Good question. So I think with us, we've always tried to be a bit fun and quirky. On other channels, it probably hasn't been as popular because it's been just for our followers, but we've kind of always had this approach of trying to be extremely innovative and creative and as fun as we possibly can while sticking to like our core values. So when TikTok came around, I think at first we had like no idea what it was, but we were very lucky to be joined by a degree apprentice who was 18 in 2019. It was like absolutely perfect. So the first thing I made her do, I sat her down, I was like, tell me everything about this app, which meant that we became one of the first ones to kind of get ourselves on there. So yeah, so I think in terms of the fun content we've produced before, we've proven with data and stuff compared to other kind of more boring corporate-y content that it works a lot better and it's getting a lot more engagement. So we kind of already had the free pass before TikTok existed, which meant that we could just absolutely run with it when it came to TikTok.
Amazing. And so how have you kind of adapted your content? If you said you've always been quite daring, quite fun on the other platforms, how did you have to change your approach and mindset when it came to creating content for TikTok?
I think when we first came to TikTok, we hadn't, because we were one of the first universities, we normally look at what other universities are doing, and where there wasn't many universities on there, it became quite difficult. So we tried to just jump on trends that didn't really make any sense, and it wasn't really getting much engagement. And it kind of wasn't really until Ryanair and Duolingo came about that we realized that we could be as unhinged as them, but as a university. They kind of walked so we could run. But it just kind of changed the game that like you don't have to jump on every trend, but we try and see what trends we can relate to us. So it still makes sense, but it's still kind of that fun, daring content. So yeah.
One of the big challenges, I guess, with TikTok is being so reactive, and therefore you have to be quick in terms of turnaround time, content production, and most importantly, sign off and publishing. So have you had to adapt the way you work and process and structures internally in order to enable that?
Yeah, so where we've kind of been quite lucky that we've done fun content before, we've already proven to the senior management that this works. So it means that we don't really have any sign-off process, which is probably a lot different to other universities. So I'm very sorry if you have to go through that. But it's because we've already proven it before. And we're very lucky that our senior management completely trust in everything that we're doing, that we have the freedom to do that. If anything, where sometimes we make content, we're like, oh, I think that's a bit too risky. And so then we show the managers and they're like, no, post it. So we're the ones that are kind of creating a sign-off process for ourselves. But for the most part, in which I'm very lucky, we don't have to have anything signed off. So it means that we can be extremely reactive and jump on trends so quickly without them dying before we've posted.
Amazing. And how do you go about tracking trends? How big's the team? Talk to us about, like, is TikTok your main focus, or do you still have the same amount of effort on Facebook and Instagram and the likes?
I think in the last year, it's become a bit more of a main focus. At first, it was a bit like, we'll post a TikTok now and then and see what happens. But since we've been getting so much engagement and so much brand awareness from it, it's become one of our main ones for sure. Yeah, we I would say we still put in enough effort on all of them, but I think in terms of research, I'm personally on TikTok all of the time anyway. Like the amount of times I out of hours will hear a thing and I'm like, I've emailed myself the sound and like an idea for it. But it's me and another colleague in the team that mainly focus on social media. So each week we kind of get together all of the trending sounds that we like, and then we kind of filter it from there. So we don't try and do them all, like all of them. We'll pick the ones that have the strongest ideas and the strongest content to go forward.
Makes sense. And when you're thinking about the types of content you're creating, you talk a lot about reactive and trends. What balance do you have in terms of more proactive, university-focused content around open days, or maybe slightly more salesy messaging? How do you split the amount of content you create?
I think even when we're jumping on like trending sounds and stuff, like we've more so in the last like couple of months tried to make more organic content, original content, sorry. So where we like kicked one of our students off campus and things like that was a bit more of a trial and error, but couldn't quite believe the amount of people that did see that and accidentally became a TikTok Karen. Everyone said I was a Karen on TikTok, which career highlight. But I think even if you're watching like the more fun videos that don't seem very salesy, there's a subtle selling point in every single one of them. Like I think we're all guilty in terms of trying to make hard sells all of the time. Like we're amazing at this, we're the best at this. Like it just becomes a bit of white noise. Whereas we'll do like a jokey thing about there being loads of seagulls on campus, but then that shows you that bam, we've told loads of people that we're by the beach. Like you don't have to be like, oh, we're by the beach. We are constantly doing that via fun content and kind of taking the mick out of ourselves a little bit as well.
And you use the I'm lost filter quite a bit. Is that your face on the I'm lost filter?
The majority of the time it is. I remember the first time we used the filter, I try to keep my face off it as much as possible, but I have to try and get in there sometimes, you know. But the first time we did that filter, it was like during one of the many lockdowns we've had in the last 2 years, and I was like working from home, had like my hair scraped back, no makeup on, and it's really strange when your eyes and mouth are isolated from the rest of the elements on your face. So all of a sudden I did it, I was like, oh god, no, like I literally have to put mascara. Like it took me about 20 minutes to then prepare just for my eyes to be on a building. Like it was ridiculous, but a bit better now. We're back in the office. And
Amazing. So talk to us about in terms of that content creation process then, how many people have access to the account? How do you brief in ideas? Do you use students in your videos?
Yeah, so there's 2 of us with access. So between the both of us, we are mainly the ones that come up with the ideas for our TikTok. But we work so closely with our students. So we have a number of students that we have as digital ambassadors, and we use them across many projects, but there's a couple of them that are like standouts that we try and use on TikTok. And we've got like a really cool relationship with a lot of students, that we've got like a really like an open door policy in terms of ideas, and they're constantly sending us sound being like, this would be really cool. And I think as I'm getting, I don't want to admit it, but as I'm getting older, I have to rely more on what the students are telling me and making sure I keep an ear to the ground, so that we stay relevant, because otherwise they don't want to hear from me and my views. So yeah, so we're constantly working with students, but we don't really give them access to the account. We would go with them and come up with the ideas and film it ourselves. There's only a few that we might hand it out to.
Okay, interesting. So you will be on campus with, like, I assume you film everything on mobile?
Yeah, we try and keep it as authentic as possible. But yeah, we film everything on mobile.
Yeah, so you will go out, you'll find some students who may want to be in it. You will then go and record it, edit it, post it between you and your colleague.
Yeah, absolutely. We tend to use more, we've realized in the last couple of years, we have a lot of performing arts students on campus, and they are amazing on camera, and they're really good when we give them the most ridiculous brief in the world, that they're like, yeah, up for it, and also banging ideas back at you. So a lot of the students you'll see are our amazing performing arts students, and bless them, the amount of things I'm like, oh, you go and get in that bush over there, and they're like, okay. Like, so I'm very, very grateful that I work with so many amazing students, and they feel so comfortable in and know what we're trying to do to also give us ideas back.
I guess that helps in terms of continuity as well. I mean, and a lot of companies that we work with on TikTok are always very scared that they haven't got sorry, central Birmingham siren there. They haven't often got people who are confident or comfortable being on camera, and they're concerned that if they put it all around one person and that person leaves, then there's no continuity. Whereas when you're kind of more faceless on the likes of Facebook and Instagram, it's a little bit easier to get around that. So having that variety of people, I think, is really, really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Just to add on to that, we had a similar worry a couple of years ago. We had literally one student that we used on everything because she was so amazing on camera. And that's actually where we started to get a lot more collaborations with students, where they're like, oh, I'd love this opportunity. And we often put things on Instagram, just being like, to get people to kind of offer themselves for different opportunities. We just have such a big network of students now that it's actually quite hard to choose what projects to give people, which is a really good position to be in.
Yeah, totally. And I'll go to a question now, because Elsa's actually just asked one saying, how do you use trending sound on your account? We can't use them due to having a business account or running ads through it. Are you a little bit naughty and just have a creator account?
No, we have a business account, and that was the biggest heartbreak when we were like, yeah, we're verified, and then we couldn't use any sounds. But it's only copyrighted music, so we got in the habit of, when we saw a video that we liked and we saw that it wasn't copyrighted, we'd just go through and save all the sounds. But at first I wanted to cry. But you can get over it, it's fine. But there's so many sounds that aren't copyrighted, even if they've got music in them, that you can actually still use. So literally go through and just tap on the sounds, because you're able to save them all. But yeah, we've been through it, it's fine. There's so many more sounds you can still use.
Yeah, I mean, with clients, we always recommend going straight to business, because then you haven't got to experience that heartbreak. So yeah, totally get it. I mean, a lot of businesses listening in will be like, right, well, I've got to potentially invest in TikTok. I'm already investing in Facebook and Instagram. How do you measure the value of TikTok?
So, I mean, the big one for us is the amount of followers we've gained within a year. It went from our 5th most followed to our most followed social media account in a year, and that's crazy. We don't really see many of our accounts kind of like taking over each other. But I think the main thing, well, for us, no one really knows who we are. Even the residents of Chichester don't really know we exist. So just getting our name out there is a big thing. And where the For You page has so many accounts of so many different, like so many people you don't follow, you are constantly seeing new things all of the time. You're constantly showing new brands, new products, etc. And with the videos that we post, between 85 and 95% of the videos are being viewed from the For You page. So even though we have quite a big following now compared to like other universities, the majority of our views are still coming from that For You page, which is a really good thing for us, because we want people to know we exist. So yeah, I think if you compare that to other platforms, on Instagram, our best performing posts will probably reach about 25% of people that don't follow us. And that's on a good day. Whereas TikTok, that's consistently in like the 90%. And obviously it's higher at the more viral the videos go. So I think if you want to get your name out there and you're trying to get make people aware that you exist, it's absolutely a platform to be on.
Makes sense. And I know we've seen Meta copying TikTok, because that seems to be what they what their business model is. Do you use some of the content you create on Instagram and Facebook Reels now?
Not really. We kind of made our own. I like keeping content separate. I don't really like when we use the same content across everything. That'll be very, very rare if we do that. So the reels that we post are very different to our Instagram, and our Instagram is more about like our location and how like beautiful Chichester can be. So we kind of relay that within the reel. So it's not so much the fun content, but more of like the aesthetically pleasing.
That makes sense. That makes sense. What another questions come in just around that business account first creator. Do you want to just explain a little bit more what the differences are?
I mean, I know very little, so you may have to jump in here, Ollie. So a creator account is more for an individual. So be like an influencer, so that they can gain like the analytics and the business side of it, but still be a person. Whereas a business account is for a brand. And unfortunately, the biggest difference between the both of them from our point of view is that creator accounts can use copyrighted music and businesses can't, which is annoying, but I haven't seen it as an issue now for the last year or so. I did when we first moved, but a little secret that we sometimes do is if you go through businesses of like Duolingo and Ryanair, where they've literally got probably about 3 people dedicated to that one platform, they are business accounts. They don't use any copyrighted music. Just go through and save all their sounds. Like it saves you having to go through a view page. They're in the same boat. So yeah, so I think even if we try to change to a creator, we're verified now, so I don't think they'd ever let us slip back through. But yeah, I think that, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Ollie.
No, I think that's bang on. I think sounds is the biggest difference. I mean, it doesn't really impact effects or filters or anything that you can use if you're a business account. I think it's just purely music because of the copywriting side of it. But as you said, there are loads of business accounts out there using these sounds already. So yeah, it's a good nugget of advice there, which was awesome. What would you say your biggest learning to date has been? Because it's obviously been a bit of a roller coaster since you started TikTok. What's been your biggest learning?
I think that we really didn't know what we were doing at the beginning. Like, it's so funny now when we look at that content. But for me, but this is the same thing I use on every platform, is quality over quantity. I use that approach on everything. I think sometimes we think that we have to keep posting all of the time to keep people engaged, but you're actually being really annoying. So we don't want to be annoying. We want to make sure that every piece of content we produce is of the same standard. And I think this is where we've seen the biggest amount of following, is where people have seen our content that's performing really well on the For You page. Naturally, I click through and would go, if I like a video, I'd go through and see the other content. And that's when you're going to gain followers. That's when you're going to make somebody fall in love with you. Whereas if you've got one viral video and that's amazing, and then you click through and there are so many videos that are rubbish, they're not going to follow you. They're just going to like that one video and then carry on with their day. So I think that's our biggest learning, is that we don't have to post all of the time to get the engagement. You just need your strongest content to get that engagement.
Interesting, makes sense. And we've talked a lot here about TikTok in silo and, most importantly, organic TikTok. Do you do much in terms of paid advertising through TikTok?
Yeah, so we include TikTok in every single paid campaign we do. We found that it's a lot cheaper than other social media accounts, so social media advertising in terms of like Facebook and Instagram. We see very similar traffic, but we don't see much conversion from it. But for us, that's a good thing, because we realize and recognize how valuable the brand awareness is through TikTok, and we've seen that organically as well, that we don't mind too much that we don't get the conversion, because we get conversion through other advertising. So yeah, we see a lot of traffic. It's very cheap, so it's worth trying. But I think that's where the advertising's got better. It never used to be as good when they first started. You know that TikTok are like continuously trying to make it better. So we think it's worth doing for what we want.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think the key thing around TikTok generally, the model that they've created is purely based on the For You page, which can only be driven off the data they know about you. So that's watch times, comments, what you engage with, etc., etc. So while we think Facebook and Instagram have a lot of information on us, I think TikTok is just another level. So while the advertising platform's still in its infancy, it's only going to get better, because they are learning more about us every single day. And I think if you reflect back on, I mean, my Facebook account, for example, still says that I live in London. I haven't updated it for 5 years. And I probably follow some nightclubs or random stuff in Newcastle where I went to uni. So all of a sudden, Facebook's got no idea who I am anymore, whereas TikTok's constantly learning, constantly evolving. So I think it's going to be even more powerful. The challenge we've seen is on two fronts. So it's interesting you talked about the conversion, because as you know, TikTok is too bloody addictive. So people don't want to click away. So actually taking people from TikTok off platform isn't actually seen that much. So I think they've got a bit of work to do around that space, because the app's just so good. That FOMO of missing out, because it could be Francis, the train guy who you had on yours the other day, doing an amazing video, and you're going to miss that if you click off into the ad. So I think that's an interesting point. But the other one which I want to ask you about is, how do you create content for your ads? Do you have the same approach as what you do for your organic?
Yeah, so we've tried lots of different things, and we have used our official adverts before, but we have started to try using some different organic content as the advertising, as the adverts for TikTok.
Sorry, you cut up a little bit then, but
sorry.
So you're saying that, that's right. So you've used some of your organic content. Are you doing anything specifically in terms of messaging for open days, for particular courses? Have you done any of that type of advertising?
Naturally, we use the same content from our actual TikToks as the adverts as well. But yeah, we do end up making different content for TikTok, but that's just because the platform is so different.
Yeah, makes sense. And we spoke with the head of social from Ryanair a couple of weeks ago on a similar webinar, and he was talking about the importance of engaging with other accounts on TikTok. Do you do much of that proactive commenting and searching out other videos?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm constantly commenting as a university on different things, just because there's, especially if they're going viral, it's so easy to get so many likes, and that's just another way for people to know who you are, click through on your platform and stuff. Another thing we do quite a lot is we interact with our own students. So we're constantly searching out and trying to find them, which means that they then are interacting with us on our TikToks. So it's increasing our engagement, but it's also kind of confirming that they also love it here. And they're like, when we do stuff about like the seagull, and I'm like, oh my God, I hate seagulls. This happened to me the other day. And we're kind of encouraging this conversation of like about the university, and kind of showing like, well, how I think we're amazing, but how amazing they think too.
Makes sense. We've had loads of questions come in, so I'm going to jump to those because they're more interesting than me.
That's fine.
One question's come in about how you translate your tone of voice across channels. I mean, you said right at the start that you're quite funny on your content anyway, but do you see that across email, website? Do you have that? Is that Chichester University's tone of voice generally, or do you mirror it slightly for social and TikTok in particular?
I mean, is it Kyle from the Education Marketer absolutely nailed it, that we are completely unhinged on TikTok, and it is, the more that we push the boundaries, the more we want to push them. But our tone of voice was extremely unhinged on TikTok, and we've kind of taken that, working out how people are actually engaging with that, and they're loving it, and we're calling everybody bestie, everyone's calling us bestie, and we're like, this is madness. So we've kind of tried to start taking that onto other channels. So we're already quite fun, and some of our core values are that everybody knows everybody, and we are a very supportive university, and we have this very personable approach, and we kind of try and take that across social, so that they already are feeling supported before they even step the foot on campus, so when they get here, they've already got this confirmation of like, oh my God, it's everything I've already seen before. So where we're putting like little kisses and stuff, that's just us being unhinged. But we are starting to take that fun into hopefully emails and stuff as well. So we'll soon see. It is social, we're allowed to kind of do whatever we want, and it's now just trying to convince the other teams that that's the way forward. So I'll let you know. Maybe I'll do another one in a year, and I'll let you know.
It's so good. I love it. I guess a real performance marketer has sent this question in. Is there any evidence that your TikTok has helped with recruitment?
I don't have any hardcore evidence to give you, but the thing we are recognizing is, and I think this is the perfect example, is that we have a lovely woman on campus who has a Labrador called Lincoln. I don't know if you've seen him featured in the TikToks, and the students know him, everybody loves him. But normally, a couple of years ago on an open day, they'd be like, oh, wow, you have a dog. That's so cool. Now they're coming on like he's really famous. Like, oh my God, it's Lincoln the Labrador from TikTok. Like, and I feel like I don't know how to quantify that in some sort of report, but that I think just shows you so much more than we need to know, that unfortunately we can't tell that to our like vice chancellors, but to us as a marketing department, we know that it's working.
I love that. We run a TikTok account for an Indian restaurant down in Bristol, and they have a guy who works there called Tushar, and he's like the star of the show. And people have literally traveled from all over the country just to go and get a selfie with Tushar. It is nuts. And on April the 1st, tune into Urban Tandoor, because the April Fool's video we're doing is utterly bonkers. So yeah, that is going to be amazing. Next question, again, a bit more focused on how you do things. So do the students ever ask for payment or any remuneration for their time and involvement?
So they don't ask for payment, but we do give it to them. So there's two things we do. So the students that we use often, we have them contracted as student ambassadors, and we'll pay them for their time as we would for any students working at any other events. Or if they do anything one-off, we'll give them a voucher as a thank you. But what we do find is all of the performing arts students we use, because they recognise that this is also good for their career, that they could be in one of our TikToks that has hundreds of thousands of views, is that they want to do it because it will help them in terms of after university. So we have a lot of keen students that would do it for free because they recognise the coverage and the engagement that we get from the videos that they would be in, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. It's good that you pay them. All of our
yeah, I promise we pay them.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. No, all of our presenters, we make sure that we pay them for their time. It's so crucial, because it's more professional than ever. Having someone that's actually really good on camera, that is an unbelievable skill and asset now. It never really used to be on, say, Facebook and Instagram, where you could get away with photography and graphics, but now front to camera, being the star of the show, it's such an important skill to have.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a question here, is there anything else I can do to boost my business account, or just stick to trends, musics until one goes viral?
That is a good question. So for us, when we first started, we just tried to jump on anything trending, but we started to kind of dabble into more original content, which is where we started to jokingly kick a student off campus, pretend that she wasn't allowed on campus. And that's actually where we got most of our engagement. We kind of were religiously sticking by trending sounds, but where we started to kind of push the boat out a bit more and make it still be a bit more unhinged, but it wasn't the trending sounds, because I think it can get quite repetitive when you're looking at the same trending sounds over and over again, whereas it's something completely different. So I think the main thing is, if you do original content, it needs to not be boring. And I feel bad saying that, or like not too corporate, because people kind of expect it from a university. Whereas I think a lot of our content, they're like, I can't believe a university is doing this, or that we've had the sign off. And another thing genuinely is commenting on other people's videos. And one more is you utilize the reply as a video for comments. We've seen a lot of engagement from replying to random comments on TikToks, because it means that they then will stay on your account, because then you're like, oh, I wonder what comment that was from. And then they're like 5 videos deep and they love you. So I think that's my main advice.
Amazing. And do you do much stitching and duetting and using other features within TikTok as well?
Not so much. We tried to stitch a video a couple of weeks ago, because someone, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but someone changed our name to something else. There was a swear word instead of the Chichester, and we were gonna stitch that, and then they had turned that bit off, and then we couldn't. So we haven't dabbled yet, but we want to.
I think we can all or a guess at what that swear word.
Yeah.
Amazing. Love it. So I think you said earlier about not posting too much, and someone in the questions here has kind of challenged that a little bit and says, well, I've heard that the algorithms, you need to be posting regularly. Is that a myth, or what's, I mean, you're very much quality over quantity, right?
Yeah, I mean, we do that on everything, and I think we don't post that regularly. We could post more for sure, but we're still seeing a crazy amount of engagement that I don't think we need to be posting any more than we are. But it's completely up to you. I mean, that's just my theory of how I work, and that I've seen proof from the stuff that we do. It might be completely different for other universities and brands and whatnot. But for me, I think if you're posting so much just for the sake of posting, even if it's high quality, that's fine. But if you're just posting for the sake of posting, you're going to lose followers because they're going to be like, this is boring, this is annoying, or you're not going to gain followers from that one video that's gone viral for you. And for me, there's some other viral videos that, sure, I think they're amazing, and I would have loved them to go viral, but they're still of high quality that if we have a viral video, we've then seen other videos start to go viral where they're now on our account, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And difficult question to answer this one, but I'm going to put you on the spot anyway.
Oh no.
What would you say makes a good TikTok video?
That's such a good question. I think for me, and for the stuff that we've seen do well, is it funny or kind of pushing the boundaries, especially coming from a brand. I think when you post something that people are like, I cannot believe that they've posted that, that's what makes a good TikTok. I think that's when you start to get people following you and starting to see what you're doing because they want to know what you're up to next. And for me, I think that's the biggest thing. Like anything that's funny, yeah, we can jump on trending sounds and it's be a bit funny, but I think what the best things we've seen is when we've posted videos that people can't believe a university's posted. So yeah, so I think that's our key bit of info.
Love it. I think from our perspective, just to add into that, I think the thing that TikTok has done, and the reason why it blew up so much during lockdown, is because they've actually built one of the world's best mobile editing platforms and software. So what it's done is it's enabled creators from all over the world to be able to create amazing content that works on the platform. So the competition that you now have on TikTok is massive. And you've got to think that your video is going to appear potentially between Kabe Lame or Haley Morris doing a hilarious sketch, or Adrian Bliss in all of his weird and wonderful costumes, or University of Chichester putting their face onto the side of buildings. So you've got to operate on TikTok in line with what the other creators are doing. And that is where it's made it so difficult. And I think you can be quite lazy on likes of Instagram and Facebook with photography and graphics. Whereas TikTok, you've got to operate within how other people are using the platform. And I challenge you a little bit, Mickey, in terms of you have to be funny. I think you can also be informative and educational as well as that. But it's making sure that the content is really authentic. It is real good personality. It's filmed correctly, etc., etc. So it's all of these aspects that other people are creating content on TikTok that's really working. And if you're doing something that's slightly corporate or slightly kind of mundane, you'll just get called out because it's just not as good as what else is on there.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
Cool. Question here in terms of again, your followers, how many do you think are current students or prospective students? And the person said kind of awareness is amazing for Chichester because people may not know, like no one knows how to say it first and foremost, Chichester or whatever. So it might not work the same for Liverpool that people know. So do you know out of your followers are just random people who follow you because they think you're hilarious, prospective students, current students? Have you got a flavor of that mix?
It's really hard to quantify it, but we definitely have quite a few current students, but what you should know is Chichester's only got 5,000 students. So we have 22,500 followers. So it's definitely not, even if all of our current students follow us, that's still only a quarter of them. we have a lot of prospective students because they're constantly commenting on it. And I think our main audience, and this is what we've really seen, is how young the audience is. Like we have so many, and I've gone through to look through people's profiles before, where they're like 13, 14, 15 already following us, like not because they want to come to university, but because they like our content. And I think that's the awareness for us in terms of like, yes, we can raise awareness just so that people know who we are, but we're raising awareness with the people that will be thinking about university in a couple of years' time. And yes, for someone like Liverpool, as you just said, yeah, people will know that university, but there's so many universities to choose from. So even if they know you, you're still competing for people for you to be their number one. So I think that for us is our main thing, is that yes, we want people to know who we are, but we also want them to be like, oh, but Chichester are nice. And then when they hopefully are interested, go onto our website, that will then give you all of the information you ever need to know about the university.
Yeah, totally makes sense. I've had a couple of questions come through in the chat. A lot of them about how did you get buy-in. So I think we covered it right at the start, but just to flesh that a bit more. So one was, how did you get buy-in from people who may be slightly anti-TikTok and therefore want slightly more professional content? And how have you managed to persuade the executive team that TikTok is actually a strong marketing tool?
It's a very good question. I think in terms of getting buy-in from it, because we had more fun content, I do monthly reports on the content that we produce, and on every single platform, it's always one of our more, not daring, but like more fun content that was performing the best. So in terms of the more exec team or anyone higher up that's like an academic, I think the main thing is they want they want proof. So for us being able to prove that was working better than other corporate stuff, and that we're actually getting more engagement and more from it, that's where we started to get the buy-in of like, okay, actually more fun content is better for us personally. And that's where we started to get the buy-in. And I think on TikTok, as soon as we posted one video that got a crazy amount of views, they can't argue that. Like, they literally can't. Of course, we can still be reputationally damaging, which we are not, hopefully. But we have to be careful in terms of that. But in terms of more fun and less corporate content working, they can't argue with the numbers. And I think, especially with academic staff, it's so much easier to prove your point, not just be like, TikTok's amazing, is to actually back it up with evidence. So that's what we've done with everything we do, which is why we have a bit more so much freedom now.
Yeah, makes sense. And just next step, so Elsa's also questioned, just, I think you've covered this, but just go over it again. Your main your main goal from TikTok then is general awareness rather than conversion or enrollment at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just from the amount of reach we get with non-followers, I think it's a no-brainer that it's more for awareness rather than conversion at this point. For us, when we get prospective students interested in us, they kind of start to interact with us more on Instagram and messaging us and whatnot. So that's, for us, Instagram is better for conversion. But in terms of brand awareness and just people generally becoming just even interested in who we are, TikTok's our way forward.
Makes sense. And do you use TikTok for anything other than engaging students? For example, local businesses, local stakeholders, anything like that?
Not really, unfortunately. We do interact with other businesses and stuff, but we not too much. Is mainly our main focus on all of social, and pretty much everything within our department is student recruitment.
Makes sense. Quick question here from actually a small startup, so nothing to do with universities, but they say, any thoughts on how best to go about integrating TikTok in their content strategy? Obviously, they're small, they haven't got much resource. I'm just interested in how much of your time and your colleagues' time do you think TikTok actually takes?
A lot. I think at the beginning a lot. I think where it's still so new and it's changing so often. Like, I think if you compare it to like Instagram, we already know what our audience likes. We already know the content that performs well, that we don't have to research too much out of it. Yes, we run things past students and stuff, whereas TikTok is constantly changing. And I think if you don't keep up to date with it, like I think a lot of my insight also comes from the fact that I'm religiously scrolling through it in every waking moment on my personal one or university one or whatever, to the point that the For You pages of my personal and the university is exactly the same. Like, I'm not, like they're not even different anymore. They know it's me. But I think in terms of like the content for startup is kind of showcase who you are, but just not in a boring way. But you're right, it doesn't have to be funny. It can be informative. It can be anything. But there's something about TikTok where you can just be so creative and slightly outrageous, and it's fine. It's like it's accepted and tolerated. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but
Yeah, I guess so. I think it's more a case of, I mean, the reality is, if you're trying to get discovery, there is no better platform than TikTok for discovery. You've already talked about how many of your non-followers see your content. Like, you just can't do that on Facebook and Instagram unless you're on Reels, but it's not part of the app necessarily. You still have to click away to get to it. So in terms of investment to get awareness and discovery, there's no better place than TikTok. So Phoebe, hello from Greenwich, hello. Do you have set rules, i.e. do's and don'ts for your TikTok content? For example, swearing. And then Phoebe's also asked, we're scared that acting unhinged can give the university a bad rep. Like, any advice on getting around?
I see your point, Phoebe. I think we don't swear. I think we've replied to comments before where there's got swear words in them, but we don't. It's not a rule, but I don't think we need to. Again, it's probably a limitation I put on myself, because I can definitely imagine that our manager's probably like, yeah, fine. But in terms of the fact that we've actually got quite a young following, I'd probably just refrain from swearing. And in terms of unhinged, like, we didn't just go straight away unhinged. Like, we kind of like dabbled a bit, kind of tested the boundaries, and we did a lot of trial and error. And a lot of times, if we felt that content wasn't working, we would just kind of get rid of it. We wouldn't leave it on there. So I think try it a little bit. Don't go completely unhinged straight away, and then you can start to see how people are engaging with it. Yeah, I think that's my main advice. I think we are very lucky that, like, in terms of the actual university's reputation, people didn't really know who we were. So it's not like we had a massive representation beforehand. Reputation, not representation. So it meant that we had a bit more freedom because people didn't have this perception of who we were. So I think maybe take that into consideration as well. But I like your content from Greenwich, though.
Amazing. Petra has asked, have you got any tips on captioning? Is there any way to optimize the caption for more engagement?
I mean, we use hashtags, but I don't really know how much they make a difference. I feel like this is just a side note, but we use hashtag #ChiUni on everything. But you can actually see how many views all of the hashtags have got, which is a really good and quick way to see, because a lot of our students use that hashtag too. And that hashtag had 2.2 million views last year. That's just mad. I can't even fathom that amount of people. And so in terms of, like, for reporting, I think it's really good if you use one hashtag on everything, because it's a really good way of seeing how many views you're getting and if other people are using it and stuff. And in terms of caption, we normally make a bit of like a sarky comment, or just something that will encourage people to comment on our videos as well. So I think in terms of like actual SEO of it, we don't use it too much like that, but in terms of engagement, we do.
Amazing. And is there anything you do in terms of tracking? So there's a question here, well, two questions come in. I think we covered it before, but do you have any kind of like trackable links in your bio or anything like that, just to be able to see the click-through rates?
We don't know. We do have a smart bio link, which is the same as our Instagram, so that we're able, so we don't have just one link. We have a number of links within one, which we're able to track that, but we can't actually track from that who's come from TikTok and who's come from Instagram. But yeah, I think that's the main. It's a good idea though. Thanks. We're taking that one.
I learn something new every day. Question here. Our goal is awareness, but within the city and the student community. Is TikTok too broad an audience for this? Good question.
It's a great question. I don't think so. Because of course, like, well, this is so far-fetched, but like anyone in the world could see your account. But we always put hashtag Chichester, and we do often see, and I don't know if it's from the hashtag or just generally because people are interacting with it, but we do see lots of local people commenting on our videos and interacting with them. So yeah, I mean, I do often see quite a lot of like student unions, which is quite an interesting take because obviously that's only for students, but it's still a good platform for that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so we run ourselves to local communities. We run Birmingham updates. We got 800,000 followers, got about 20,000 on TikTok. We also run Best of Bristol as well. And we've managed to build local communities through TikTok, but that's very much how we do it in terms of if we're using captions, we mention Birmingham, we mention Bristol, we make the content very obviously that it's for those cities. So if for anyone from Birmingham, we obviously say Bab. So if it's like, oh, hey, Bab, we'll integrate that into our videos to make it really localized. So I think it's a case of helping TikTok understand what your content's about and therefore just showing more people who are local. I mean, we also run the TikTok for Birmingham City Council. And again, we've managed to build a local community for Brummies on that account as well. So it's definitely possible. Definitely possible. But also just think about, and Nikki, I don't know if you do this, but do you do any boosting of posts and location targeting at all?
We don't know. The only advertising and stuff we do is specifically for different campaigns. We haven't had to boost anything, so we haven't done that, no.
Yeah, cool. Makes sense. Makes sense. Ronan has asked, what common mistakes do you often see some businesses TikTok's account do? What should we avoid doing? Question.
I've got one main one, and it makes me really sad when I see this. When people post landscape videos on TikTok, I really hate that. Don't do that. Another thing is, and this is university focused, is when you just see like a video that's been used for something else, just posted on TikTok for the sake of posting it. Like, I'm a strong believer that the content you put on TikTok should be created for that platform specifically. And from there, you could then share it to other things. But it's really hard to take something from Facebook or like a department video and then just put it on TikTok and hope that it actually works, because it's not going to. But whenever I see a landscape video, I kind of die a little bit inside.
We have a rule: if you say the L word at nonsensical, it's it. It's like a penny in the jar, and then that's the beer fund of the Christmas. Yeah, no landscape, no landscape. And I actually put a thing on LinkedIn just before Christmas, actually, because John Lewis did this, and I was horrified. John Lewis literally took their TV ad that they spend £1 gazillion on, whacked it into portrait and shoved it on TikTok. I'm like, what are you doing? You could have done anything. You could have done like an unexpected guest filter. You could have done a sponsored hashtag. You could have literally done anything. And all they did was took a TV ad, cropped it in, which didn't work, and chucked it on TikTok. I was like, no, I can't believe it.
Yeah, another thing is we have 2 in-house videographers, which are amazing. And where we've started to do more portrait videos in terms of advertising, and sometimes we use some of their actual footage, it's not just from a mobile on TikTok as well, but we ensure that when we're recording things that it can have the option to be portrait as well, or we just record things in portrait from the get-go. So that's another thing to consider, is that yes, landscape videos do really well on other platforms, but you can also utilize that by making sure that it's a bit more zoomed out or recording it in portrait from the get-go. So
yeah, it's important about framing. We when clients want something for, say, YouTube and for TikTok, and you know there's one clip that will work across both. But again, I think context is really important. The context of TikTok is users are generally scrolling while they're watching TV. They might be walking for the bus. They might have just woken up, or in Mickey's case, any time of the day. So the context is different. So you have to create content to grab attention. So hooks are the most important thing. The first 3 seconds, the captions and the copy that you use to tell people what's coming up in the video. Like if it's 5 things that you need to know about Chichester, make that really obvious at the start, because the context of being on, say, watching TV or YouTube is you generally have more time on your hands. You're more committed. If you go and watch Netflix, you've probably got a couple of hours on your in hand, whereas TikTok, you might just have 5 minutes. So creating content specifically for that platform and that context of the user, I think is so important. And it is a totally different style of creating content, totally different. Cool. So do you edit directly on TikTok and post it, or do you record, or do you edit on a different platform and then upload? Does it matter?
It depends on what the video is. If it's some sort of voiceover, then we'll do it straight through TikTok, because it's so much easier to do. Whereas some content we'll film separately and then put it on there. So it completely depends on what the type of video is. So yeah, voiceovers would do straight through TikTok. If we need to use the filters and stuff, we'd go straight through TikTok. Some of the other videos we've done literally via like Premiere Pro and stuff, or if there'll be sometimes instead of, because I think sometimes it can be really difficult if you're trying to film loads of different clips within the app. So we'll try and film if we know the video is going to have lots of different clips, we'll film them separately so that we can then edit them within the app itself. So yeah, that's the main 3 ways that we do it. It kind of depends on what the video is going to be, but editing in TikTok is really easy to do as well, whether you record in it or upload videos to then edit it within it as well.
Yeah, and that's actually answered another one of the questions that's literally just come in. Is there a lot of editing involved in your TikTok video creation? We have very little resources at college.
Yeah, it's not really. I think there's a couple of videos that we've probably taken a bit longer to edit, but they could have been avoided. It's not, I think the simplest videos to make are the ones that have done the best. Like the video where we kicked Imogen off campus, that was just one shot. And it was also graduation that day too. So there's a lot of people in graduation gowns having no clue why she's getting kicked off campus. So we probably started some rumors. But yeah, there's other stuff where it's literally just like a video, then a photo, or just 2 clips together. That is so easy and so simple to make. And if you can create content without needing somebody, so whether it's your face on a building or literally a video you've already got, even better, because you can literally get it done in 10 minutes.
Amazing. Love it. I've got literally 5 minutes left, so I'm going to try and wrap up ASAP. One word answer for this one. Is time of posting important on TikTok?
Trying to keep to one word. No, I'm going to say no.
And have you got any data to prove that? Do you post at the same time every day?
No, we post at different times. It completely depends. I think you get caught up in, I think this is another thing to consider, is that some of the videos that have done really well, they've done really well like 4 days later, or even sometimes a couple of weeks later. Like they've done all right at like a normal amount of engagement at first. And then I remember once I went on annual leave for a week and I came back and the video had 50,000 views. And I was like, when did that happen? And it happened like on a Sunday. Like, so yes, you could post at the same time and you might get a slightly better engagement than other times, but it can really depend on the algorithm of a TikTok. Like sometimes they'll go viral quite quickly, or sometimes some of our videos, like another one of ours, I think it had about 20,000 views. And then when another one of our videos went viral, that one went to 150,000 views within a couple of hours. Like it's just mad.
That's insane. That's so insane. So another question here. Do you ever post TikToks thinking that they may not be successful, but post them anyway? And then what you've just answered is like that it can go viral so much later.
Yeah, I think now that we have a good base of what we want to do and the kind of content that we create, I think we know if something's not going to perform, that we probably just won't post it. If there's some stuff that we're like, that didn't really work, we would just get rid of it, because to us it's important that all of the content on our profile is of the same standard. Well, at least no comment to anyone else. But yeah, I think I've answered that question. But
cool, amazing. One question on influencers. Have you used any influencers for University of Chichester? Or do you use influencers in your content creation?
I mean, the only influencers we would use would be our own students. We wouldn't ever outsource our content just because we know the audiences so well. The students are so keen, and I feel like people should utilize that, like trust in the students that they know what they're talking about, especially if you've got performing arts students. They're amazing. Yeah, we would never outsource, or well, at least I'd like to think, from external companies and external influencers and stuff. So we use our own students as the influencers, because that's who, from us, prospective students want to hear from. Like, they don't want to hear from me, they don't want to hear from some random person we've just brought in. They want to hear directly from our students.
Yeah, we've just literally signed a contract with a local university here where we train their students up on how to create content on TikTok, and then we do a lot of the brief writing and support and like see what's trending and then get them to go and create it. And that just works so well. So I completely agree. And then in 2 minutes, what would be your top 3 tips for people to take away in the wonderful world of TikTok?
I think if you're going to jump on trending sound, you need to do it quickly. And I appreciate that can be difficult if you've got a sign off process. I recognize I've got like a bit of sun on my face. I'm trying to get out of it. It's like kind of moving around. Yeah, sorry. So jump on trending sounds. For me, and if you don't agree, that's absolutely fine. But for us, quality over quantity is always going to be the way forward for us. Posting a crazy amount is going to end up being annoying to the people that have committed to following you. And third one, I think, take note of the creativity of the platform. Like, don't try and post the same content on everything, because it doesn't work. Like, the platforms are so different, like the audiences are so different. For us, all of our audiences are completely different. For Facebook, it's more of an older audience, it's our alumni, it's people's parents. And on Instagram, it's more of our prospective students that are definitely coming in September and they're interested. But on TikTok, it's a very young and a very engaged audience.
Mickey, that has been an unbelievable hour. I can't believe it's gone so quickly. Thank you so much for your time, for your input, for answering the questions so honestly. And well done. I absolutely love your account. I think you've done such an amazing job. You've fully embraced the platform. So I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out and speaking to us. And congratulations on being #1 of our TikTok report.
Thanks. I really hope no one takes, like, don't use it against us now, all of the advice we've given. Might regret this in a year.
It's been absolutely superb, and you've been a trailblazer in the world of TikTok. So well done, and I can't wait to see the account grow even further.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Ollie, and thanks everyone for watching.
Yes, thanks for tuning in. And there you go. Phoebe's just put thank you, bestie. So it's already already catching on.
You're welcome, bestie.
See you in the comments section. There you go. So you've got a friend already. Everyone's just saying how amazing you were. So thank you so much. Cool. Welcome. So we're going to end the recording. We will share it with everyone so you can watch it back and relive all the nuggets that Mickey gave during the call. So anyway, I will end this now. Have a wonderful day, and we will speak to you all super soon. Thank you.
Thank you.